Hey, everybody. It's Simone. I'm here with Bella. We're here for another soul conversation, the 16. These soul conversations are sponsored by the 64 Doors and Unlock Your Design. So let's get to it. See what the 16 has to say. I like to communicate with the soul, the archetype of the soul of 16. Will you communicate with me? So the first energy that I experience is like this rocket of movement lifting off, and there's power, there's excitement, there's like a catalyst. The 16 feels like an open book. Uh, uh, it's kind of really magical the way that the 16 lifts up and is this energy that just shoots up, but then it's also this energy that opens out. So it's uh there's there is so much excitement. And I remember in the 64 Doors we titled it the 16 the Enthusiast, and that's truly the excitement and the enthusiasm which the 16 moves is very present. And it's almost like the 16 walks out of, if you could imagine the shape of a rocket that's lifted off, but is also almost a house, and the door opens and out the 16 walks. The 16 does everything well and is so, it's like he's walking around his own creation, and everything is done so well, and he's just pleased with it all. Just, yep, yeah, like check, check, and check. It's all good with the 16. And he says just that, well, he doesn't say it. He showed it to me in pictures, that just because everything is perfect doesn't mean it's the end of his creation. He wants to keep creating. But it's like he sees a need and he creates it. And the impulse and the creation are almost one. Like the minute the impulse or the opportunity, the potentiality is there, it's like the creation immediately births from that impulse. And there's a purity to that. It's almost like watching a chick birth. There's a magic to that connection between the impulse, the creation, and the birthing. There's no corruption in this. It's so pure. The creation is so pure, and the whole process is delightful to watch, to be a part of. And imagine all day long being at awe of what is created. Imagine that it's a conveyor belt of chicks birthing, and wow, and oh, wow. And each one is different. It's like the same, if they were on a conveyor belt, it would be the same, but they're all different. Each one is different and unique in and of itself. It's the perfection in and of itself. And the 16 is saying that this process of creation is unending. It literally happens from before you're embodied until through your embodiment to after your physical embodiment. This process of creation never is unending. He says some people don't recognize what they are creating, but the creative process continues, and the 16 is tireless, fearless. It never gets old. It never gets boring. Each creation is so unique, so delightful, whatever it is the perfection of what wants to be born in the moment. And he says this is the most important thing to know, that creation is unending. And for him, there's no, in a sense, bad creation. There's no poor creation. He says, some of you create and you think, oh, what have I done? I've messed up. He's like, no, you haven't. You can't get it wrong. But what you perceive of it can be corrupt. But the creation itself is a perfection. It's how you experience it that determines whether you're engaging from perfection or from corruption, from integrity, from wholeheartedness, from truth. And he says that's what he really wants to share with us. Do you have any questions, or would you like to talk to him?
Yeah, I would like to ask how to not become scattered, because if everything is fun, if everything is everything creates enthusiasm, how to not be scattered with this versatility? Like there's a difference between versatility and scatteredness. So could you talk to that?
Well, he says the scatteredness can come from not recognizing everything you're creating. That when you truly recognize that everything is a creation, you give each creation the focus that it requires, deserves, is appropriate. But he says that, he's using the example of a conveyor belt again with a production line. It's like each creation is spaced out on the conveyor belt. And he says the scatteredness comes from you're not paying attention to what you're creating, or the conveyor belt speeds up and you haven't adjusted. You're not paying attention to each of the creation and what the requirements are, what the project is. And he says, if you want to go from scatteredness to versatility, pay attention to what you're creating in all of its aspects, because then you have more awareness of the truth of it. And, he keeps saying, and what is required, So it's like, if an artist wants to paint, the artist knows, oh, I need I need something to paint on. I need the medium to paint with. I need the brushes. I need the cleanup tools. I need some water or oil, or, I need to be able to see, or, like have a place to work, or, not so much see, but be able to either put my hands and or use my brushes. It's not about seeing, it's about the experience of planning for every aspect of it. And he says some people go, oh, I want to paint, and they have paint but they have nothing to paint on, or they have paint and a canvas but no brushes, and can't think of, oh, well, I could use my feet, I could use my hair, I could use my fingers, I could use a kitchen tool, I could so that's where the versatility comes in, the capacity to adapt to whatever you're creating in the moment, and pay attention. Oh, I wanted to paint. I only have paint and nothing else. Okay, well, what can I do to paint? How can I bring this to life? You can do it. You don't you know, if you're going to paint, all you need is paint. You can make your paint. You know, like how could you bring that? What is required to bring that creation to life? And really paying attention is so 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 important. Yes, did that help you?
I don't know, a little bit.
Well, he
Um,
also says that some people are not paying attention to what they're creating. They want to create this, but they're really creating that. And then they don't pay attention that, oh, that's not what I created. I created this. And then the recognition of um, sometimes you create, he says, sometimes you want to change your creation. Sometimes you think you want to create this, you create that, and you're living that as if you created this, and then you realize this isn't anything that I want. I want to create something different. And then the why. And so he says there's a poignancy to each part of the process. And why do you want to paint? Why do you want to do the thing that you want to do? What's the primordial force of creation for you? Are you clear about that? Because
okay.
some people are creating and they're not really clear, and they don't create what they want.
So basically, it's not to jump on anything that you become enthusiastic about. It's about choosing the things that you can do wholeheartedly and then have everything, all the tools that you need, or being versatile, being curious about what to use for that. So it's not, I think the 16 can get enthusiastic about everything. And then that's where the scariness comes in. And it's not so, when that happens, it's like not being so aware, like you say, about the creation. It's more being fueled by the enthusiasm, but not really care where what it leads to. So then the 16 can come back to itself and be okay. What do I want to create? And then choose those projects. It sounds like.
Yeah, he's saying clarity of consciousness from beginning to end, like through the whole cycle. What is it that I want to create? Why? How? Oh, I don't have everything that I predict I need. Well, what can I improvise? How can I improvise? How can I be flexible? Who can help me? Where are my resources? Do I still want to do this? So there's like a clarity of consciousness throughout, and that's what takes it from chaos to um, versatility and mastery. He says the creation doesn't have to be, in air quotes, perfect all along the way. That it can, that's part of what flexibility and improvisation is. But the master can take anything and make it into what they want. So we see that Hans has a question. Do you need your authority to guide your enthusiasm to keep it healthy? He says, well, what you need is clarity. Oh, this is coming from my authority or it's not. But I'm clear that I want to do this. He
Mm-hmm.
says that the clarity of the come from is essential. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. What about time? Because I think that is one of the things for the 16, because it's tireless and it's fearless and it never gets old. So it often thinks that it can do, it's this thing about repetition. It feels like it can do it forever because it knows it's never going to get old. There is something in a human life, though, where there is an end of energy somehow. So I'm wondering if you could say something about the time aspect, and because it can really repeat until mastery. That's what it does. So something about the time aspect and choosing the projects, and yeah, a little bit more precision on that I would love.
Well, he says that it's tied to clarity of consciousness. What am I creating? Why am I creating it? How am I going to create it? What resources do I have to create it? And he says after you do things in this pattern, you're gaining a wisdom that creates a versatility for improvisation and the expression of mastery. So that over time, your clarity of consciousness evolves, And what you create at one stage of your life is going to be different than what you are motivated, catalyzed to create at different stages. And so he says that clarity of consciousness is not stagnant, but it's based on the totality of your consciousness and experience.
Yeah, and as a last thing, I think we asked this about the 45. I'm wondering, when somebody is maybe stuck in indifference, where is no enthusiasm anymore, or you don't care about this project or that project, there's no clarity, what could be, how to tune into this energy? Well, how can we activate the 16 in ourselves?
Yeah, he showed the first image that he showed me was it's almost like there's so much on the 16. Imagine a builder or a painter who has been in the workshop and is in a sense wearing everything that, you know, and he showed going into the shower and like washing off, clearing out, and then being with yourself in that washed, that cleansed state, and being with your body and your consciousness together, grounding and seeing what springs forth, where your imagination goes, where what's the impetus for creativity again. So he says that sometimes we all need a time of cleaning off, cleaning up and realigning and taking that moment to, oh, okay, I've taken a shower, brushed my hair, brushed my teeth, I've put on clean clothes, and now I'm fresh, and I'm just going to be in this freshness. And he says that what you may see is that, oh, I really want to create something just a little bit different. I want to create something completely different. Oh, I want to do this again, but here are some things I can change now that I've done it this many times. He says that cleaning process, if you will, taking the shower and reorganizing, getting reorganized within yourself, like realignment will help you become clear again inside of your body and with your soul, your spirit. He said, did that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what they can guide us to, is also because we know we have that whole frequency band, and those archetypes, in the soul archetypes we're speaking about, the higher frequencies, gift and the status of versatility and mastery. I feel like it's important to look at also how, because we are, as humans, we also get stuck in the shadow, or in the dilemma of techniques, or the laziness, which is the victim state. So I feel like it's important to actually also name them, and I feel like we did. So yeah, I feel, maybe, is there anything else that is important for the 16 to let us know?
Well, he says that he loves everyone's enthusiasm. And he says he's encouraging people to continue being enthusiastic in trying times and not to give up their enthusiasm because of what's going on around them. He says it might be time to, take the shower, put a new pair of clothes on, have a moment of pause, go within yourself and see with your, with all of your experience, with all of your wisdom, with all of your knowing, where do you want to create from? Maybe your come from is slightly changed, and that's okay. And he says the cycles of creation always include a coming back around to, in a sense, evaluate the whole process and what happened. There's like a metacognition about the whole, what did I want and how did that play out, and what was created and how do I feel about it, and do I want to do this again, and what would it look like, and you know that metacognition about the whole creative process is part of the process. And he says that allowing yourself to circle back around before you know, just are caught up in creation without really having that metacognition. He says that's super important. It's a super important part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear you speak, I hear the programming partner, the 9, which is about focus and determination. So that's needed. And also before I heard the 48, which is the harmonic 8, which is about wisdom. So it's like the 16 by itself, it's tireless, it just can go and go and go. It doesn't care about a million times repetition and then new things. But with a programming partner, the harmonic 8, I feel like we get a perspective more of how to live out this tireless energy of enthusiasm.
Indeed. He he shows it like he said, it's the circle of life. It's the cycle of life. This creative process is, the continual cycle of life. And it's like his enthusiasm and his connection to the cycle of life is unending. And he's like saying it doesn't matter that like if you have one cycle, you don't have to have the spontaneous creation the minute the circle, the cycle of life comes back. You can pause. You might not want to spring forth from that position. You might want to go forward or backward or start at some other point, and that's okay. It's part of the process. For what is the cycle of life if not to integrate the wisdom from that? So we have a comment from Jessa. This past weekend, I was struggling with not being able to express myself through words in a creative way. So I sat back and was breathing and trying to figure out how to get into that space. And it was like something sparked in me that this wasn't the moment for that. And that it was more about creating connection with my kids and bringing them into it. Then the authentic creativity came through in a different way. The creativity was still there. It just didn't look the way I originally wanted. And he was like, the whole time I was reading, he was saying, the 16 was saying, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. So such an affirmation. And he really honors you, Jessa, for your process through that. He says that clarity of consciousness that you went through that whole process with was magnificent. And it truly helped you to get to the perfection of the creation. Jessa comments, is it kind of like enthusiasm of all aspects of the cycle? He's like, indeed. And for him, for the 16, there is no separation of any of the parts of the cycle. And I think that's what, as you ask that question and he gives his answer, now I'm taken back to what he started with. So, even I'll go listen to the tape because, he says this allows me to express what I was getting at the beginning. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. We as humans kind of break all the parts apart, but to the 16, he's always in the complete cycle, right, of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And honors those creative, the creative impulses that are the primordial energy that that everything springs from. So I think that's what he kind of really loves so much, is how you really paid attention to that whole process. Not there, not there, not there, not there, not there, not there, and then there.
I like in the elemental trigrams that are making up to 16, we have thunder over earth. So thunder is the 51, and it's about initiative and awakening and thunder. And then over earth, which is all about the yin, and it's all about the earth. So it's almost like it looks very, very much like initiative, awakening, and thunder, but it also has a grounding. It knows about the cycle. It has this trust, the second Jinki, like the trust that is everything, the earth. It has a ground, although it can look like kind of just the thunder and what's happening on the top. So that gives me also a way of seeing it in the elemental expressions.
Yeah, he's celebrating your insights. That's, he's really celebrating them.
Well, we should thank him for these insights, and that we can go back and be enthusiastic, just a little bit more focused, maybe, to not become so scattered.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm just telling him thank you, and he's just waving goodbye. So
Hmm.
until next time. Well, thanks for joining Bella Crystal and I for the 16 soul conversation, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.